Redditors who grew up with strict parents, what was the craziest rule or punishment you had to deal with? Hi Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will install spy hardware in your bath. The word disgusting was banned and could have been considered just as bad as saying frick. We weren't allowed to close doors unless we were in the bathroom. We weren't allowed to watch Cartoon Network, because it was garbage. They actually put a parental lock on Cartoon Network. The worst punishment was one time they decided that we were such bad kids, my sister was like 14, I was 12ish, that they took everything we owned and bagged it up into garbage bags and made us carry them out to a burn pile, and they burnt everything we owned. All of my childhood memorabilia, pictures, clothes, diaries, everything. Burnt it all. Fricked up. When it was done burning the next day or so later, my sister and I looked through the ashes and all that was left were 2 silver rings of hers that we cleaned off and kept. Crazy it. I was not allowed to use public restrooms. I ruined our Disney trip because of how many times we had to go back to the hotel not on site when I was 6. And I quite honestly had accidents when I was far too old to do so, because my parents had my teachers reporting bathroom use to them too. There was no place I could safely use the restroom other than home without getting into trouble. Sad face, finally I got to use public restrooms without punishment when I freaking went to college. No, I'm not kidding. But I got pretty good at hiding restroom use in high school, because the high school refused to report it to my parents. Why did none of these teachers spot the abuse? How? I know. I'll take my young child who is still developing a bladder and needs more frequent restroom breaks to a crowded place where the nearest private bathroom is 10 miles away and can take 30 to 45 minutes drive to get to. Then, when my child inevitably pees themselves, I will yell at them for ruining our vacation. I just have to ask, did they ever give a reason for no public restroom use? Unsanitary? Creepy pedos lurking in every stall? It's baffling. STDs and rapists. When I did have to use one, it was coated in toilet paper and they would hold me over it. This rule continued into middle school, by the way, which was hell. My pad leaked so many times, but that was checkable in the garbage. Oh god. This was primarily my grandma's crazy, but now my mum throws a fit with stomping and screaming every time my dad, who has prostate issues, goes to a public bathroom, because it makes her mad. I don't even think she knows why, to be honest. I used to be mortified at the ages at which I had public accidents. That would be my answer to those what would keep you awake at night threads, but the truth is my family was abusive and freaking crazy, and it wasn't my fault. As a kid, I just thought I should be better and do better. I felt like it was my fault. Now I just get angry at the idiot adults that enforce this, including my teachers. I believe my teachers were told that I had a bowel disease and that my peeing and pooping had to be tracked. How did nobody ask for a doctor's note? It really truly sounds like you were one of the ones that slipped through the cracks. What would happen if you gasp, dared to not hold it in 8 hours of school and went? I get bathrooms are dirty, but the risk of contracting an STD from a toilet seat is basically impossible, if it would even live on the seat that long. As you've gotten older, have you tried proving her wrong? Or at this point is it basically impossible for her to admit she was wrong? Ugh. My grandma would notice the difference in volume when I got home, but the school would also let them know and I would be punished. My grandma died, and I just don't care what my mum thinks anymore, though she is still obnoxious. My mum refuses to use public restrooms herself. And a couple years ago when I was in the middle of a horrible IBS attack, she came into the restroom at the restaurant we were at and screamed at me for taking a half hour. I still time things. Because she is crazy. It had been 5 minutes. They both thought that scientists were wrong and were lying to them about bathrooms. My grandma also taught me that if I took a bath I would get pregnant from my dad's semen in the tub from him wanking. Seriously. I was 12 when my period started and every time it was late, till I learned better from ex-ed, I seriously thought I was pregnant with my dad's child and that my family would punish me for being a slut and a whore, would never believe me that I was a virgin, and I would have to give birth having never had sex, which would hurt even more. When I found out the truth I just hated them more. As the eldest son of a Southern Baptist preacher, I was held to some high standards. Being seen and not heard, and that my every action was a reflection of my father as a leader to his congregation. I found music to be a great outlet, but of course any non-Christian music was not allowed and immediately destroyed upon discovery. Spare the rod, spoil the child was a mantra ingrained in my daily life. Once I was into my teens and spankings with stretched out coat hangers was no longer enough to be considered punishment due to the lack of tears, my father moved on to shaving my head. Nothing like the constant reminder of how unworthy one is once their physical source of personal identity is forcibly removed. Frick, this thread sucks. Makes me appreciate my parents a whole lot more. Oh. One I can answer. My mother is an honest to God narcissist. I graduated from high school early at 16 and didn't go to college immediately, so I worked a part-time job while all my friends went to school. Anyways, when all my friends graduated high school, we celebrated by going to the movies. My friend's mum dropped us off and another friend's father was going to be picking us up. My mum was very upset at me going to the movies anyways, since it wasn't going to be over until after 9 PM. By bedtime at the time. Anyways, finally she lets me go on the condition that friend's dad gets me home by 10 PM. My friend's father ran into late night construction on the way home with me and several other friends in the van, and the closer it got to 10 PM the more I started freaking out, telling everyone I was going to be in huge trouble if I didn't get home like right now. My friend's father assured me he would speak to my mum and all would be fine. I was the first BB dropped off because I was panicking so severely. The moment the van pulls into the driveway, my mum comes barreling out of the house telling me she was going to kick my ass for being late and keeping her up. My friend's dad tries to calm her down and separate her from hitting me. That is when she realizes I'm chewing gum. Now my mother hated gum. Said the only reason you would ever chew gum was to hide something. So naturally she makes the assumption that I was late, chewing gum, because I was busy sucking my friend's dad's dong. Yup. That was the only explanation in her mind. She grounded me for 12 weeks. An entire summer. I wasn't allowed to have a phone, cell phone, TV or books the entire summer. Every morning my mum would take the cable box, home phone handset, and keyboard to make sure I couldn't do anything. Needless to say, my friends never invited me anywhere again in fear that my mum would call the cops and accuse me of sucking their dad's dong. She also used to report my car stolen if I didn't call her back when I was in college. Please tell me you two no longer see each other or speak. The proper response would be to have the friend's father call CPS. Many parents in this thread need, to have CPS called on them. I refused to greet my sister's new boyfriend with more than a sup, so later that night my mum Hulk smashed my laptop, double fist style. I know those feels. I wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid. My older sister saved up a lot of money to buy me a microscope kit, where you could make your own slides. It was awesome. One day my sister and I got into a fight about doing the dishes. My mother punished my sister by forbidding her from seeing her boyfriend. My mother punished me by breaking my microscope in two by smashing it into my head with one hand and holding me against the wall by my throat in the other. It's itty how parents can simultaneously abuse you and the things you care about. I lost all interest in science after that. I dealt with a narcissistic, abusive mother. Most of my punishments weren't huge, because I was a really good kid. But on my 18th birthday, because I asked for gas money the day before, the first time ever, she took mine and her car keys with her to work, and took the shed key, no garage, so I couldn't even ride my bike, and left a note on the kitchen table saying happy 18th. Now you're an adult, so get out of my house. I spent my birthday alone, trapped, and miserable, all over $10. My mother went crazy and left the house in tears on my 18th birthday because I wanted to go out with my friends. She didn't come home till after 2 AM. My parents were fighting another one of their fights over nothing on my 18th and were just annoyed when I came to demand attention for the fact that it was my birthday and I was now 18. On my brother's 18th, my mother spent the entire afternoon fighting with her sister over nothing. My other brother was smart enough to not celebrate his 18th birthday at home after our mother ruined his 17th birthday party, humiliating him in front of all his friends again over nothing. We do not have a good relationship with our mother. My grandmother was a retired English teacher. One day, I called my brother stupid. I was 4 or so. She filled me in on her rule that if I couldn't spell stupid, if I called someone stupid, then it was really me that was stupid. Thus, I should never call someone a name that I couldn't spell. So in my 4-year-old head, rather than avoid name calling, realized that I did know how to spell dumb, so that word must be permitted. I spent the rest of the day overusing the word dumb and she wasn't quite sure what to do at that point. I got grounded from an end of year party. I was 11 for getting a B on a paper, even though I still got all A's. I was devastated. It was thrown by my best friend and I was never allowed to do anything, and I had been looking forward to it all year. I had the perfect dress to wear because my aunts, via marriage, mother had taken me shopping and bought this cool dress that made me feel like Molly freaking Ringwald. I was never allowed to wear it before and it had been in my closet since September. I was seriously having a Cinderella moment. Although I honestly related more to Jane Eyre because I was adopted and a bookworm. The day of party I'm bawling. I'm a good kid. I try to be perfect every waking moment. Now I'm grounded from my best friend's party. The mum of my best friend knows how tough it is at home. I'm screamed at, belittled, hit all the time. This party was a freaking beacon. Arlene, the BFF mom, barges in my house. Tells me to get ready and get my stuff together because I'll be spending the night. My mum protests. How about I call CPS about the 50 freaking cats in your house? I go to the party and Arlene teaches me to be a badass. Frick yeah, Arlene. Come on, Arlene. Arlene saves the day. I'm also adopted and had terrible parents. But I just want to acknowledge the Jane Eyre reference. That book was meant so much to me growing up. Okay Reddit guys, subscribe now, or I will install spy hardware in your bath.